Let's move over a little bit, please. Okay, that's good. That's good. Good morning, and welcome to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM WBISLP. And today is Monday. We're about to exit the month of August. It is August 29th for here in Pitt County. This is our first day of school for a lot of children. So there's a lot of excitement and movement going around here. So good morning to you, Calvin. How are you?
I'm doing well, Renee. It's been a great morning so far, and I hope the day's going to be just as good. Like you said, school is started, and a lot of excitement because of the fact that school is open
Yes,
and traffic.
Yeah. Well, we know about traffic. Our grandson, as a matter of fact, he learned traffic when we were up in New York. He couldn't understand what was going on. But what I would like to say is that there's so much going on, and even though there's some new things going on, a lot of the stuff, Calvin, still remains the same. So that if you want to talk about the COVID, the monkeypox, even though, again, being out and about, you wouldn't think that anything is going on because so many people are still going out without the mask. However, there are still people who are contracting COVID, the monkeypox, and people are still dying every single day. Do you have anything to say about that, Calvin?
Well, Renee, actually, a lot of people, the thing that we just say, wear your mask. Continue wearing your mask, continue, protecting yourself and your family because it is so important. The hospitals, still have people going in there with COVID, with the monkeypox, with all these different viruses now. But we need to continue wearing the mask.
And the one thing I can say is that with the healthcare, like say if you're in the hospital's not letting people, a whole bunch of people visit inpatients or people who are in the hospital. They're screening very well who goes to see a patient in the hospital. So take that as a lead that if you know someone who's in the hospital and they're only allowing the two people a day and it's only going to be the same two, it's not going to be a whole bunch of people. That means something, and so we need to take heed to that. So the other thing, Calvin, that I wanted to talk about is that they were talking about taking these. We'll get this out the way. Trump and how he has taken a lot of documents from the White House when he left as president. And some people will say, well, hey, he's saying he's claiming them to be his. And they're not his, they belong to we, the people of America, of the United States. And I think that we ought to continue to let people know that these documents are all types of documents and that our security, and that's my main thing, is our security is at risk because he had those documents in his possession. This is Trump in his residence, which is a golf course, so people come in and out. It's a big place that he brought down in Florida, and they were not that secure. And when there was an investigation by FBI, I guess a year ago, they asked that he put something on that he puts like a lock on the door where he was keeping these documents. So who to say that he has not copied all of them? Who's to say that people, nilly willy people walking around and his staff have not copied those documents? And I feel that we should talk about that.
And Renee, the thing too, in those boxes that was retrieved by the FBI, I'm just going to go over some of it because it was 184 unique documents bearing classification markings. And this is what they included: 84. I said that already. But I want you to understand, 67 documents marked as confidential, 92 documents marked as secret. However, there were 25 documents marked as top secret. Now, when you say top secret, that is top secret, meaning that in those documents, Renee, there could be names of individuals that is helping us throughout the world. And if our enemy get those names, so many different things could happen to them. They could be put in prison, they could be killed, eliminated. So these documents are so important that they should never have left the White House. They should never have left where they're supposed to be. This is the only president in my recognition that have taken these type of documents to their home. I mean, top secret documents should never be in someone's personal home. And this is where he lived. Uh, I can't say anything else other than the fact that they shouldn't be in his home. And I'm just glad that the FBI, went there and retrieved them. And now that this paperwork, the information, what is it that they put out now? That this judge that he appointed, saying that he can get a secret master. They want now this judge to say that they can get a master, a special master. And the judge is already saying, Renee, that she's inclined to give him that, even though that she haven't heard anything from the prosecutors. So these people that Trump, I call him 45, put in office, are definitely in there for him, not for the Constitution, not for the country, but in there for him.
Well, when you talk about the master, what he wants now is someone from his side, and he wants one of his judges that he's put in office to go and say, well, listen, I want to look at all the documents that were taken out of there. A lot of the stuff, okay, confidential information had some of his personal information interweaved in these documents. So I think that we need to be very concerned about the national security of this country. I think that codes for nuclear weapons need to be changed, and I'm hoping by now, since they knew over a year ago that he had these documents, that he did change. If you care to join the conversation, maybe you're saying too much time is being spent on DT45. But the number is 252-756-2008. We need to stay focused. Again, we're going to speak about November the 8th, which is going to be our general election day. Pretty much most of the primaries across the country have been done. And now it's time to focus on who gets into the office. Your vote does count. And if your vote didn't count, they wouldn't be doing all these voter suppression laws. And we need to understand exactly what is on the ballot.
There's so much on this ballot. Democracy is really what's on the ballot, because if certain people get in office, the way we see this United States now, it's going to change 100%. It's in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion. They want someone like a Putin to run the country, and I can't see that. This is why we say you have to vote. You have to vote your conscience. You have to vote who you think going to run this country, who's going to follow the Constitution of this country, and not their own personal thoughts and how they want to run it. It's just so important that, again, you have to get out and vote. For instance, Renee, she have one vote. I have one vote. If she doesn't vote, well, that vote that she didn't have doesn't count. We cannot, and we never count votes that not people that don't vote. We don't count those. We only count the votes that are done. And we need to make sure that everyone get out and vote.
Well, one of the things we want to talk about also are the accomplishments of this president that is in office right now, and that's Joe Biden. And he has had a difficult time because when DT 45 was in office, he did not do anything to alleviate the pandemic or the COVID virus. And how and why can we say that is that under his watch, so many people have died. And then he really didn't care because it was depending that it was affecting mostly Black people. And then he also was telling people, and they died, drink bleach, do all kind of craziness, and you won't get the virus. So once Biden came in office, he immediately passed a bill for the pandemic. For people who could not work and did not work, they all got a stipend, which was very helpful. And Joe Biden, President Biden, has an agenda that can move our country and is moving our country forward. And we have to understand that if we want to make sure that things continue, well, that we not only is he going to be in office for the next 2 years, but we need to make sure that he has a support mechanism. And the only way that he's going to get that support mechanism to support his agenda, which has made a big difference in so many people's lives, that we have got to make sure that we continue to control. And I say we, that means the Democrats, and the Republicans have an opportunity to call in at 252-756-2008 if you want to talk about the accomplishments and the agenda or the platform of the Republican Party. However, what I can talk about, because I have seen things happen based on President Joe Biden's agenda and how things have been able to get passed. Because if it was not for him, okay, putting these things out there, some of his accomplishments again was the pandemic bill, and then he also had passed recently the Chips and Science Act bill, and what that is going to do is rather than wait for China to give us chips or these little cards for our computers, our phones, our cars, we're going to be producing them here in this country. The semiconductor and science research this passed also. The PAC Act, which expanded health care for veterans. No Republican voted for that bill. No Republican voted for the Chip and Science Act. The Inflation Reduction Act, what did that include? Lowering prescription drug prices. Now, if you have a chronic disease, which a lot of people, particularly if you're able to live long enough, you're going to have some chronic stuff. And the out-of-pocket costs, okay, that maybe the copay that some people have to pay, either they can do it or they can't do it. But when you look at the cost of homes, of being able to have an apartment, and then you have this hefty bill for your prescription drugs, he now has it that for seniors that you won't pay more than $2,000 a year for your drug. The other one is that not only will you do that, but Medicare will now have an opportunity to negotiate drug prices, which is something that a lot of the politicians, and again, when you're doing your research, find out which politicians are getting money from the drug companies. Find out which politicians are getting money from the gun controls, the gun manufacturers, because this is how they are voting, not your interest, but the interest that is in their pocket.
Well, while you're talking about that, Renee, the Senate on Sunday, this was August the 8th, they passed a Democratic, $750 billion health care, and that included taxes. That included the climate bill. These things here that President Biden have accomplished so much, like the student loan forgiveness bill, that was passed. So he's doing a lot of things, but we don't hear about that. And this is what we want you to know here at Awesome Radio. We want you to know the things that he's doing, because, when it comes times for re-election, well, you have to look at that. Look at all of the things that the Democrats are doing. When I say Democrats, I'm talking about the senators, the Congress people. All those individuals are doing different things to make this happen. And when the Democrats vote, well, the Senate is 50-50. So it takes 51, and that's where Vice President Kamala Harris come in, because, like you said, the Republicans are not voting on any of these bills. So it takes Vice President Kamala Harris to make sure that these bills get passed.
In addition to that, you have the filibuster, and the filibuster says you have to have at least 61 votes, which means that, well, if the Democratic Party votes one way, they would need 10 Republicans in order to get, or plus, or 11 Republicans to get a bill to get passed. So we have got to understand that if we need for things to move ahead, and we want things to move ahead, then we have got to vote our interests. And again, the democracy, you don't want to lose. I mean, people say, oh, well, I want DT 45 to get back in office. You say that now, but once he gets back in office, if the people who are putting him in there, though he's not going to be for your interests, because number one, he only wants to worry about the people who have the money. And the thing also was that we were supposed to get gun reform, and they did pass a little bit. However, stand with Texas when they say, when they lost their babies and their teachers, that they want no one to be able to buy a AR 15, whatever the numbers are, unless they are at least 21. They want background investigations. And we, across the country, we want this also. Too many people are walking around, and I'm not looking to take away anybody's freedom. All I'm saying is that if you want to have a gun, make sure, number one, maybe you should get that gun insured. Okay? Number two, get the gun, get it insured, or have a background to say that mentally you're able to have a weapon of that choice. How things were done years ago and how things are done now, we are not looking at cowboys and Indians. We are looking at people now in this lifestyle that we have got to have more control over these guns and who has them. Police reform is something else that is on the ballot, because we would not be talking about this if they had passed the George Floyd bill. And the George Floyd bill was packed with so many things that would help to protect Black people. Where can I be Black and safe in this country? Where can I be Black and safe? They are still shooting us down, shooting us in our back. So we need to make sure that President Biden has and people that will support doing police reform, voting rights. That was the John Lewis bill. And so many people said they love John Lewis. However, now that bill didn't get passed, and all in these various states, they are passing these voter suppression laws. We need the John Lewis bill. HR 1 was dark money. There is so much dark money going into these campaigns, and that's how they're funding them. However, I'm so happy that since Trump's his display from stealing the documents from the White House, the Republicans are not getting that much funding, and it's hurting them in being able to put out those negative ads. We need dark money out of our election process. Reproduction freedom, what can I say about that? When women can no longer say what they want to do with their bodies. I just say, Calvin, that is so frightening that I'm pro-life, but I'm also pro-women being able to say, well, this is what's going to work for me in my life. And as time goes on, we're going to see that there's so many people that realize that a certain party is not going to have their interests. They're going to have the interests of DT 45. They're going to have the interests of people who are just trying to control because they want the power.
Well, I don't understand. Maybe someone can give us a call and explain it to me. Why is it that these men on the Supreme Court, and one woman, want to tell women how to control their own bodies? It doesn't matter to me what you want to do, but you should be able to control your body. You should have the freedom to do what you want to do with your body. If a woman, is pregnant, and even if it's not even a woman, if it's a girl pregnant, they should be able to decide whether they want to have this child or terminate it. That should not be a 67 to 80-year-old man trying to do that. We'll be right back.
Gracious Lord, your word says to whom much is given, much is required. You have blessed us exceedingly abundantly above all that we've asked or think because you love your children so that we might not only be blessed, but be a blessing to others. Impress upon our hearts and minds this day that it is far better to be an answer to prayer than to even get an answer to prayer. God, show us a specific way this very day in which we can minister to someone else. Keep the eyes of our heart open for opportunities to share your love and salvation in Jesus Christ with others. Allow us to be a channel of blessing to others this day. Allow our hearts and hands to serve and reflect your glory. For we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
This is Joy Brown from Greenville, and I listen to Awesome Radio online at WBISawesome.org.
And good morning, and welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBISLP. Our call-in number, should you choose to join the conversation, maybe there's something that you have a burning desire or you want something to be talked about. So you can call us at 252-756-2008. This is News and Politics again, and we are here at every Monday. And next Monday, I think that will be Labor Day.
That's going to be Labor Day.
Oh, well, do we work that day?
We'll find out during the week. We'll let our listeners know during the week. But let's talk about Lindsey Graham for a minute, Renee. He is one of these individuals from South Carolina. Of course, he's in the legislation, and he's saying that if 45 is indicted, not convicted, but if he's indicted, then there's going to be a riot in the streets that the United States have never seen before. So, and I guess the riot on January the 6th does not compare to what he's talking about now.
Well, excuse me, I don't know. I'm just saying, keep the focus. I believe that once the January 6th committee resumes, they're going to be having at least two more presentations on what they found on their research. I think that the Attorney General understands how important it is to take away all danger. So I do know that we have, was it Attorney General in Georgia, who was working on how they were trying to steal the election. DT 45 was asking exactly for them to give him a certain number of votes. We heard those tapes over and over again. Lindsey Graham was part of that. So hopefully he will be indicted along with Giuliani, and there's that other woman. They are people of interest because what they did is actually a felony, and they are being investigated. So hopefully they will go that way. And if not, Trump or DT 45, he is in trouble with how he falsified the documents or the values of his property for his own personal gain. We do know that he is, what do you call it when he is gassing or, excuse me.
Well, you look. Let me tell you something about Trump. Trump is from New York. Okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. A lot of people might not like it, but he will run the clock out on you. He will appeal and appeal and appeal until this case is done with. But I think that the Attorney General in Georgia, he's worried about that case because they have him on tape, asking the Secretary of State there to do certain things as far as getting him some votes. So I think he's worried about that. And then, put him to run the clock out. What happened to his taxes? You see what I mean by running the clock out? Nobody's even talking about his taxes anymore, but we still need to see his taxes. That's my opinion, because if you look at his taxes, you're going to find that how he inflated or deflated his property.
Well, I have a bug in my throat.
Okay, well, you get that. Okay, well, 45. Like I said, he's a unique character. He know how to get around the system, and he got lawyers. But now the problem is he's having an issue hiring lawyers. A lot of law firms now don't want to touch him, and I can understand why, because of the fact that what he's going through and what they see. Look, it's the fact that he's done certain things and he's going to get something. I don't know what, but again, if you look at these individuals, now Lindsey Graham, when he was running for president, how negatively he talked about 45. Now he is all up in it. Whatever 45 say, he says, okay, and it's like, he's the Don. And Lindsey Graham is a peon, so he's just going to do whatever 45 want him to do, and that's what's going on as far as Lindsey Graham go. But again, he appealed his to go to the jury, but now I think that they might let him still go to the jury there in Georgia. However, we just got to wait and see how that appeal come out.
All righty. So again, these are the things that you should be keeping your eye on.
Well, you're right. We got to keep an eye on these things because voting counts. And I'm going to talk about voting. I know we talked about it earlier a little bit, but we have people that's coming in now, and I want them to understand the importance of voting. When we say vote, well, we really need you to get out and vote, and not only get out and vote, but you also need to check to make sure that you wasn't dropped from the voting roster. That is so important because we have checked, and Renee have checked and found out that her name wasn't on at one point, and she had to go and take care of that. But we need to make sure that our name was not purged so that we can vote. We got to get out there on the November the 8th, and vote. I don't care where you are. If you can't drive, walk. If you can't walk, thumb a ride. I'm sure there's somebody in your neighborhood will take you to vote if you don't have a way to get there. So get out there and vote, because remember now, votes really, really matters. That's how this democracy survives. We want everyone to know that this democracy, you got to be active. When I say active, meaning you got to participate, and to participate, meaning you have to vote. That's what participation is. Voting, getting out there and vote. We have a 18-year-old grandson. Soon he turned 18, we made sure that he was able to vote. This year, not only did he vote, but when he walked out of the voting booth, he was smiling. And that's what this is all about, making sure that our children, our grandchildren vote when they're turned. And how old can you be, Renee, to register?
You can register at 16, and but you can't vote until you're 18. And the most important thing, of course, vote, vote, vote. But you need to have a plan. Pretty much, believe it or not, in most states, your ballot is now there. You can pull your ballot and you can now do research on the candidates. Remember the word encumbrant? Encumbrant means that the person is currently in that position and they're coming to you so that you can now vote them back in office again. But that might not be something that you want to do if you have a person in Congress and what they've done is did any voting on bills that were important to you. Now, if you are a mother or a parent or father and you had the Build Back Better or the BBB, which provided families with, based on the number of children, either $250 or $300, you were getting that for about 6 months. However, it expired in December of 2021. That was I'm sorry, that was the last time that you received that money. And up until now, they've made sure that that money has not gone back. It pulled families out of poverty. It helped families be able to say, well, I can go to work, I can have childcare, I can afford childcare, I can pay my rent, I can get some food. You had that option to spend the money the way you wanted or needed. So now you want to get that back because it was very helpful. And if you don't have the right people there, because no Republican voted for that bill. Okay, they did not vote to get the money back into the families to continue their plight. Middle class people or people who don't have much means, we have got to find a way to make sure that this country stands for it. And even those people who are supporting DT 45, they are benefiting from all these things. If you tell me the people who was running up and down the street, floating flags, the insurrectionists, people who went into the Capitol to destroy it on that day of January 6th. Okay, we're coming up for another break. We'll be right back.
Open Monday through Saturday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, 2016 Chestnut Street, Radio, 252-413-0609. Thank you, Blessed Hands Car Wash and Detail Plus, for your support. Are you a business or organization looking for
Yeah, clear your throat. We want our awesome radio listeners to hear your beautiful voice, Renee. But I got you.
That's crazy. This is the last part of it.
756-3137. People are looking for jobs. Let us help you find those people. Get your now hiring, need help, want announcements listed in our Awesome Radio on-air classifieds. Visit our website to learn more, wbisawesomeradio.org, or contact us by phone 252-756-3137.
I broke off my job at 106.9 FM to Awesome Radio, and I'm glad about it.
What's the introduction? And welcome back to News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Boston Hill. We are here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBISLP. Call-in number is 252-756-2008. And for the next month or so, we are going to be talking about the importance of voting and how your vote does count. Don't go for the hype where they say, oh, my vote doesn't count, so I'm not going to vote. When you don't vote, that is a count. I was listening to the radio where, and I'm going to be, this is just hypothetical, that in a particular state, only maybe 3% of the people actually go out there and vote in this community. So that means that that 3% decides who could be governor, who could be your city council people. So that by not voting, you are voting, but your vote is now being determined by a few number of people. So it's so important that for this general election, again, that you print your ballot out and then you go for that incumbent who said to you, please go and vote for me because when you vote for me, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z for you. But then when you look at their record, all the things that they and we call that a platform, all the things that they had on their platform 2 years ago, 4 years ago, they did none of those things. And as a matter of fact, if you look at their voting record and all encumbrance or all people who are in the General Assembly, who are in Congress, their voting history is available. It's available for the public eye. So that once you look at that and you see, well, they said that they were going to get money to do renovations to the houses. And when a bill came up, and this is, I'm talking hypothetically, and when a bill came up to vote for renovations money going into communities to fix them up, they voted against it. So you have got to look at the record. You do not want to vote anymore if you somebody who did it by name recognition. Oh, I know that person. No, their voting history. Because once you can identify what a person has done, then you can either say, well, listen, they've done a great job. I want to keep them there. Or they are of the party that does not vote for anything. And I do know, okay, that the platform for the Republicans was put out there by, what's his name, Robert Jones?
Robert Jones.
And they are right now, the Republican Party is really very upset with him because the money that they were supposed to be putting into the campaigns to help get Republicans elected, he has kind of like, and this is what I'm reading, I'm not saying it's for sure, but he kind of like squandered some of the money and then he's over in Italy on a yacht. But his plan is that when Republicans get control, are to tax heavily the middle class and the I don't like saying lower class, the poorer of the people here in this country. Now, if that works for you, well then fine, go along with the plan that they have. But if it doesn't work for you, well then you have got to vote your interest and also go to these candidate forums where you actually hear the candidates speak, where there are debates. Go and listen to those debates because again, these are what candidates are saying why you should vote for them. And if they're not speaking your interest and you don't have an opportunity to tell your interest, well then what are you going to do? Just let them do whatever they want to do, put them back in office so that they can do their interest? We now have an opportunity and I'm speaking on how it matters to me because I am a mature person who has chronic diseases. And I'm fortunate that I don't have a copay, but I do have friends that have copays, and the copays are killing them. Okay, because every month or every time, 90 days, when they have to get more medicine, they have to find that money in order to stay alive because it's like they now have us hooked on drugs, and I don't mean those kind of drugs. They have us hooked on like diabetes, high blood pressure medicine, all kind of stuff that if we don't get it, then other things start to happen to our bodies. So if I'm talking and I'm making sense, well then fine, you're part of that conversation that I'm looking to have. And maybe perhaps that you have to see how important it is to make sure that we have people in office who are not election deniers, meaning that President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris has not won the race. They did win the race. and Trump DT-45 lost the race. And we have right now in our Congress, in our General Assembly, people who are actually election deniers. Now, are those the kind of people that you want to put back in office? Are those the people that you want representing you when they support a lie and they support a liar?
Well, you know, one of the things that I don't understand is the fact that they're saying that the president was not elected. Okay, that Trump was is still the president, and he's still flying around in Air Force One. See, that I don't understand. The fact that those same individuals, now I'm talking about congressmen and senators, that was on that same ballot, you don't hear them saying, well, their vote was illegal, that their vote doesn't, they are bad. You know, they didn't win, but they won, and now they don't say nothing about that. If you're going to look at the picture, you got to look at the whole picture, you know. And if you're saying that Trump is still, you know, and Biden is illegal, then they should be illegal as well, Renee. But I just want to go into, you know, justice or injustice for a few minutes.
Go ahead.
You know, because what happened is there's such a racial disparity in criminal, you know, justice systems. And what I mean by that is Black men are 6 times as likely to be incarcerated than white men. Now that's a big difference there. And Latino men are 2.5 times as likely to be incarcerated as white men. And you know, when we first moved down here in North Carolina in Pitt County, I asked a cop one day, I says, you know, do white people commit crimes down here? Because all I saw on the TV was Black people. You know, that's what all I saw. I never saw them saying a white person committed a crime on TV down here. So that was one of my concerns, because I figured that, you know, they commit crimes too. And then you have the Supreme Court, you know, what they did now, the Miranda rights ruling highlights racial disparities as well in the criminal justice system, because, you know, the Supreme Court ruled out suing police for Miranda violations, meaning that if they don't give you the Miranda rights, you know, they hit you in the head while they're putting you in the car, you cannot sue them. And you know, that's something that I think is so important. You know, Black women are more Black. This is another thing. Now, see, we talk about certain things, but when we go to the hospital, you know, but just think about this here. Black women are 3 times more likely to die from childbirth related causes than white women. See, these are things that we don't really talk about, but these are facts. And when I say facts, you can look them up just like I look them up. And we need to look at that, because our women matters. Our Black sisters and mothers and daughters matter just like everyone else. And I know I got off the criminal justice, but I had to put that in.
Okay. Well, and you're right. I mean, this is a 1-hour show once a week, and we can't get in depth as much as we would like to, because all we can do is bring out the topics. It's up to you to do the research. But if you're a Black woman and you're of childbearing age or not, or you have grandchildren, you're a parent, one of the things that is so frightening is being able to have good health insurance. And most times, okay, when we have children, and I've had that experience. I was a young mother, not young, but I was a young mother, and I went to the clinic to have to do my prenatal. And so every time I would go, I didn't have one particular doctor. I had the doctor that was there for the day. And when it came time to have my child, I was in the hospital, and long story short, turned out that I had to have a cesarean section. And they were trying to get my big son out, okay, that was too big for me. And it turned out that if they had continued doing it the way that the natural way, his cord was around his neck and he would have been strangled. And that's frightening, but that's the fact. This happened. Now, I won't talk about how old he is, but this happens so many times to so many women. They lose their babies because they don't have a one particular doctor because of the health care that they have. So I had to have staples. This is a true story. And every day somebody would come by, maybe say, "Oh, okay, and I had stayed in that hospital and I was nursing my baby. They had to take him from me because I got an infection. Now, where did I get the infections? It was over 10 days that they kept those staples in me and they got infected. So, what I'm saying is that it was horrible and I was young and what could I say? I didn't know how to fight for myself to say, listen, can someone come and look at me? Can someone help me? And there are so many people. I have a granddaughter. They sent her home with all the stuff still in her, and she wasn't feeling good, and she nearly died. So that it's not. It happened years ago to me, but it's still happening to mothers today.
Because that just happened to our granddaughter not too long ago. When I said not less than a year, so it is
Less than 2 months.
less than 2 months. Yeah. So it's so important. When you go in the hospital, you got to have an advocate. And when I say an advocate, I mean you got to have someone there with you so that they can speak for you sometime. I always say, if you go see a doctor, make sure you take someone with you. That's just the way it is.
And that would be good, but sometimes some people don't even have anybody to take with them, and they're out there trying to navigate the system that is not prepared for them. So that, it would be wonderful if everybody could have a primary care doctor, that one is tracking but a lot of times people don't go to a doctor, they go to an emergency room, and you're only going to see the person who was there. And in this day and age, they are only there to put a band-aid on. They are not there to solve your medical needs. They'll fix you up to get you out of that ER room, but they're not going to. And they might give you a diagnosis, but they're going to tell you to go to your primary care. So, President Joe Biden is working on health care, improving the system for people. He's now put a moratorium on, they were about to, this fall, to raise the prices on the Obamacare, on the Affordable Care Act. So now those premiums are not going to go up. He put a moratorium on that. He did the student loan. Okay. Again, these are the things that affect everybody day to day. So somebody might say, well, listen, I got $50,000. So now that $10,000 will make it that you now have $40,000. And if the right people get in office, trust me, he is going to increase it. And if you had a Pell Grant, then you're going to get $20,000 reduced because it impacts our lives. It impacts our ability to have economic freedom to be able to, and it's not all minorities that have this problem. However, it's heavily impacted in the Black community where our economics are put at a point where not all of us can maneuver and get through that system. And if you ever wanted to buy a house and you can't buy it because your debt to income ratio is too high, reducing that student loan by 10,000 will make it so that maybe you can afford that home. There's so many things that you're unable to get because of debt, and the debt is put on us because they want to keep us at a certain point. And for those who have made it, I say I'm so happy for y'all, but bring some of us along, educate some of us so that we too can be profitable and happy in life.
Well, that's the main thing. It's like when someone buy a home, that's a big deal because now they can leave their home to their siblings. Unlike other folks, they've been buying homes for years and years and years, and that's a way of wealth. That's a way of having more money to leave for our children or our grandchildren. Because when you have a home, I'll give you an example. You have a home up in New York today. The average home up there is from $700 to over $1 million, and that's not paid for, and you can leave that to your children. Well, that makes a big difference with them in life because now they can either live there, or they can sell it and have income. But I don't know what you did, Renee. But I'm having a throat issue too.
Well, okay, so anyway, so again, this is what is on the ballot, okay? Understanding, okay, that today you can pull your ballot. Number today, you can check to make sure that they did not purge you from the voting roster. These are the things today you can find out because they have to mail out, if you request a mail-in ballot, it has to come to you 60 days before the general election, which is again November the 8th. These are the things that we're speaking about because we think they're important enough to talk about. But we need for you to be as committed as we are, to be committed to yourself and your family in terms of making sure anyone who can vote votes, anyone who cannot get to the polls but want to get to the polls, take them to vote. You want to make sure that in your particular town, the things that made it easy for you to vote, like the early voting, make sure that they have not changed the voting sites. Make sure that if you go on election day, that you know where your voting site is because they have shifted, they have closed. And this is an opportunity also if you want to be a poll worker. We need poll workers out there to protect our interests. There are so many people who are being hired by the Republican Party to be a disruptor. And we need to make sure that that doesn't happen this election because it's extremely important that we increase the numbers so that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris can continue their agenda.
We need the Senate. We need the Congress people. We need these people to continue and look at these states. Look at Florida. You know, look at Georgia. You know, those. Look at South Carolina. You know, those three states alone make a big difference in how we come out. We need to make sure that you listen to those individuals and vote your heart. Don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have some good candidates in those states that you're speaking about, and they will do work for you. You vote for them, and you know what their party is, what their platform is. It will be a platform that you can support and get out there and vote. Our show is showed all across the country, all over, and so you understand what we are speaking about. This is an opportunity that if you have a candidate of choice and they need help, they need financial help, they need phone banking, volunteers, door knockers, just so many ways that you can support a candidate so that we can continue this good job. Look at gas prices. Gas prices are going down. What was regular gas over at that store?
328.
No, it's 312.
312. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking about gas prices. Gas prices are still going down. And so, we have got to make sure that we vote our interests. If your life is not the best, well, then there's an opportunity by going to vote that it can get better. Not voting, your life will definitely not get any better, and it could possibly get worse if the wrong people get into office.
Well, the other thing is Labor Day is coming, and we want you to be safe. Watch out for fireworks. Watch out for barbecue. If you're barbecuing, please be safe with your barbecue. If you're using the propane tanks, please be safe with them. Again, have a good week. Watch yourself. Be safe. Enjoy the week.
All right. This is News and Politics Today with Renee and Calvin Borston Hill. We thank you so much for listening to our show and making comments. We're here at Awesome Radio 106.9 FM WBISLP. We'll be back maybe next week. It's a holiday.